Hi, I'm Clyde Bentley, and I make apple butter. I've made it for years and I've really had friends enjoy the flavor of it. But they're really kind of amazed to actually get it done because they've been to a country fair and they've watched people stir this stuff over, maybe over an open fire in a giant pot and made some pretty mediocre apple butter. I don't do that. I'm going to show you an easier way to make apple butter using your oven and a few other tricks that are fun. And it's a way that you can absolutely amaze your friends and give them gifts for the holidays. The key to making great apple butter is having good apples. I use 12 pounds of apples because that's what fits in the pot that I have. But you're going to use equal portions of apples by weight for different flavors. The Fuji's I use because they're sweet. I use 4 pounds of those. The Granny Smith I use because they give the apple butter a real kick. And the Macintosh or Braeburn apples have a deep apple flavor and are really good tasting. Now I wait until these things are on sale, which is usually here in Missouri is about mid-December, and you can get them for less than $1 a pound. Now I wash the apples, and I do that because we're not going to peel them at all. You got to take these stupid little stickers off too, because again, we're going to use these apples without peeling them. So just wash them, and you don't have to do too much. Just wash whatever's on the surface and let them dry for a few minutes. Once you have the apples washed, you have to cut them up. This isn't too hard because all you're going to do is core them. You don't have to cut them small. You don't have to take the seeds out or pare them and just cut them up. It really doesn't matter what order you do. You do whichever apples you want. Cut them up and throw them in the pot. Now the reason I cut them up is because they won't fit in the pot if they're whole. And they cook a lot faster if they're cut up. But again, you're not going to core them. You're just going to cut them up. So now we have a big pot of chopped up apples. Just stick them in the pot. I usually add a cup or two of water or apple cider. You're not going to boil these, you're going to bake them. So all you're doing is adding something that will give the steam to rise up and help bake these. Any liquid you put in there, you're going to have to boil out. So be careful and don't overdo it. Now we're just going to stick the apples in the oven for 3 or 4 hours. Just put a lid on them if you have it, but I've set it at about 325. Now I have a convection oven, so I like to set it on convection because that gets the whole pot hot. Doesn't even matter if the lid doesn't quite fit. You can put foil over it. It's just something to keep some of the steam in. Put it in there, and that's it. Again, the idea here is not to boil the apples, but to bake them. So as they bake, they'll smash down a little into the pot, and you can take a spoon or something and get down a little farther. Don't worry too much about mashing them up. The first thing you need to do is kind of get them to apple pie softness. You'll get them smashed down a little farther later, but we'll show you a trick that's going to remove all of the seeds and all of the peels quickly. And by the way, those things really put flavor into the apple butter and are traditional for old-time apple butter. Okay, it's been for an hour or so more, and the apples are pretty mushy. And all we're going to do now is put the lid on it and let this cool overnight so we can work on it without burning our hands tomorrow. Morning. We're back with the apples, which are cool now and congealed. One reason I cool them is you can do what we're going to do today when they're hot, but you're going to burn yourself. And this is like napalm, it sticks on you and it really burns. What we have here is applesauce, which is pretty common, but apple butter is not applesauce. Apple butter is much denser and much smoother and much spicier. Apple butter used to be made from the mash when they made apple cider. In the 19th century, that was the common drink. And you take the mash and boil that down, it doesn't have the juice in, and you get apple butter. But you got to get rid of the skins, and you got to get rid of the seeds. And we're going to do this with a neat little trick with something called a food mill. And a food mill is a simple device that has a screen that goes in the bottom and a rotating blade that shoves the material down through the screen. You can pay $100 or more for one, or you can do like I do and get a simple plastic one from Walmart or somewhere like that for $15, $20. They're very handy. You can use them for a lot of things, and what a lot of people do use them for is making baby food. Now, I use the medium holes for when I do this, and we're going to put this in the bowl and start making the sauce. So we're going to put some apple sauce with all the skins into the sieve to the food mill and just simply spin it. And as you can see, the blade is offset a little and just shoves all the material through the screen and makes a fine sauce. What you're left is with the seeds and skins that you pull out every once in a while to clear the screen. Another way to clean the food mill is to just turn it backwards. And what it does is scrapes all the material off of the screen, and then you can take it out and toss it away. Okay, now I have about 4 cups of white sugar, and I'm going to just dump that in. If it's not sweet enough, later we may add a little sugar, but 4 cups is a good start. Cup of brown sugar in there. We're going to do 3/4 of a cup of teaspoon of cinnamon. And about 4 teaspoons of cinnamon. But that first one was not cinnamon, it was cloves. Here we're going to put cinnamon, 4 of these. Be bold with your spices. Don't hold back. You can add more too as you go along. Now we're going to stir this, and we're going to put it back into the oven. And then when we're going to go read a book or have some fun, go to the store, you set the oven for about 325, put it in there and just let it reduce down by about half. You want to end up with about 6 pints of material to can. So this is the kind of the final cooking phase. By the way, I will probably cook this and let it cool again and cook again tomorrow. And the reason I do that is the pectin sets up, and you can really tell if it's dense enough to can. Something about the cooling process really makes the pectin come out and set up. Okay, I've transferred the apple butter to a smaller pot so it's easier to work with. It's good. It's thick and about the right consistency to use on toast. Test of it. Right amount of spices, and is smooth and buttery, not like applesauce. Now this is a time when you can modify this to your own taste. If it's not sweet enough, put a little more sugar in it. If it needs a little sharpness to it, put a little lemon juice into it. Put more spices into it if you want. If you put it in the oven, you can cook it down. You can cook it down to it's really dark and thick if you'd like, almost by caramelizing the sugar. But what you're going to end up with is really good apple butter. And what I do is I heat it up and then hot water bath can it in small jars like this. And I make a nice label for it, and so I can give it away to my friends, and they enjoy it because this is real apple butter, and it didn't take me very much work.